All right, I got Daniel Van Kirk joining me today. His Together Again tour starts April 5th in our fair city of Albany, New York, the Madison Theater, 1036 Madison Avenue. Daniel, how are you, sir?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks so much for having me.
No problem, man. I have such a hard time when I say Daniel, not putting the Chicago inflection on it. It's really tough. I know you're a Rochelle boy. I'm sorry if I end up doing Daniel at some point. I'm sorry.
Hey, that's okay. Yeah, no, it'll probably release some sort of serotonin in my brain anyway, just to hear that dialect. So don't worry about it. Daniel is a correct pronunciation of my name. So
That's what I thought. That's what I tell my wife. I mean, I keep telling her the Aurora boy is coming out in me when I say your name like that. And she's like, please don't do that to him. And here I am. So
that's so funny. I love it.
So your last show in Albany was back in October 2019. At this point,
Yeah.
Been a minute. Have you been on the road at all since, or is this your first tour back?
Yeah, I went back out on the road in August, August 11th. I kicked things off in Chicago. We did a couple of sold out shows there, and it was great. It just, we planned it in June of 2021 when things were looking really good. And by the time the tour came around, the Delta variant had sprung up. So I think we had, 38 or 48 cities like all lined up, and was going to bat them out in the final 3-4 months of the year. And everything just got put on hold as obviously we saw that big spike in the fall. So I got in most of the Midwest, and then it was like, I think I did like Cincinnati and Cleveland and City, and some dates in Iowa, and obviously, like I said, Chicago and Milwaukee and Madison. And then I just had to put everything on hold. So I actually just got to go back out and pick the tour back up in the Pacific Northwest, where I did Salem and Bend and Portland and Bellingham and Mount Vernon and Seattle. And it was just great. I'm so excited to be able to keep going and come right back on the road and, do the Pacific Northwest. And now I'm going to do the Atlantic Northeast. So I can't wait, man. I can't wait. The Albany show was so much fun. In 2019, it was one of my favorite shows on the road, and I'm so excited to early in this tour be able to get back there. So yeah, the crowd's been great. It's like with the Pen Pals podcast that I do, and obviously with Rory Scovel, and obviously Dumb People Town with the Sklar brothers. I think we have such good kind of cultures on that show that the people who like those shows and come out to the stand-up shows are of the, it's kind of the same energy. And so when you get people who are invested in that type of podcast and also enjoy, somebody who makes that in the stand-up form, it really just makes for great audiences and a great time. So I'm so excited to be back out.
That's all. I mean, it really does seem like your whole part of your ethos, at least, is connecting with other humans and really bringing, not just the people that are coming to your shows to connect with you, but to connect with each other and creating a community, which has been a really fun thing for me personally to engage with, and different, I think, than other communities that I've dealt with in the comedy world. Is this something that, like, personally you have fought to cultivate in your career, or?
I think so. I think, my family is a very like more the merrier type people. We would, at holidays, there might be people from the senior center where my aunt worked who didn't have anywhere to go for the holidays, so they'd come to ours, and friends and family were always and by family obviously our family, but I mean even like far extended family and friends would always be coming in and out of the doors at all time. We have a family reunion that started with my grandmother's parents in 1943, I think. So it's we do that every year annually. We've never missed a year. Even during the pandemic, they did virtual ones, and some people socially distanced at a park in Rochelle. So I think I've just always come from a like, let's get in here, let's have a good time, and just in terms of the way in the culture that I was raised. And so in the podcast that I do, even in Dumb People Time, we do 3 dumb news stories, but it's not like a Tosh.0 or a ridiculousness, which in no way am I throwing any shade on those shows. I'm just saying the angle is different in terms of, we don't really say, look at this, as much as we say, why did this person do this? And really like talk about the thought, like what happened the night before that caused this fight at breakfast. So it's really always just kind of about like relationships or people, or why people do what they do. And then Pen Pals is obviously a show where people send Rory and I letters and we write them back in audio podcast form. And that's also about that like exchange of like, where are you coming from? What are you doing? And, here it's okay to come together or be together. And so I think in my stand-up, I really want to create the feeling of people being like, yes, of course, the bar is I was funny. But even above that, I want people to be like, man, that was a great time. Like I had a great time. And like you were saying, not just within the relationship of person in the chair and the audience to me, the stand-up, but I had a great time with the people around me as well. So yeah, I think if there was any sort of cultivation, it really was always just born out of an effort of like, that was a great time, right? And so I try to do that, and obviously the currency for that is comedy. So I'm doing my best.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, it certainly shows that, in your podcast and in your stand-up, you talk a lot about your family. Everyone's kind of intimately aware of, your mom is Diane, thanks Diane, and your grandmother is Rosemary, correct?
It is. She is. Yeah. Yeah.
She's the matriarch of the family, as I understand it.
Yeah, she's in charge.
And even Aunt Connie is in on the whole thing. Like a friend of mine ordered some merch from your website a couple weeks back or months back, and received a handwritten note from Aunt Connie. Said, hope you enjoy your t-shirt. Thanks, Aunt Connie. And I thought that's the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, we actually hire a fleet of small children to write those notes. They don't have anything else to do. There are a lot of latchkey kids, and so we're trying to give latchkey kids a purpose in life. No, yeah, I have a lot of tour shirts, and we had that first run, and so I said, you know what, we'll just we'll sell them to anybody, because I didn't know when the tour was going to come back up, so I left that up, and they're all in Rochelle, Illinois, and so Aunt Connie and Uncle Ken, who's also mentioned on my album, thanks Diane. They're like, hey, we're retired, so you just let us know who orders them and we'll send them out. And Aunt Connie took that on herself to say, hey, this was sent from Rochelle, Illinois, and I hope you like it. So it's very on brand for for the Van Kirks.
It really, when he texted me a picture of the note, and I was like, that makes perfect sense. Like, I don't know, it's just right on brand for you and of course your whole family. That's hilarious.
Yeah. I don't know if I'll go down as like one of the coolest comics, but I don't really care, as long as people were like, that was a great time. That's a good, I feel better having gone to that than I did before I went there. You know what I mean? So
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we've never made friends standing in a merch line before, but at your show, we got to chatting with the people in front of us and got talking about what you do, and now we see them maybe once a year, once every 6 months.
That's awesome. That's so great.
Yeah, that's like, that's the kind of thing you can count on when you come to a Dan Van Kirk show. It's just like feeling together.
Yeah, and that's essentially that's why it is. It's the Together tour was the first tour back in 2018, 2019, and this one's the Together Again tour, because that's really what I'm going for. I who knows what the third one will be, but I'm sure it'll be something in the same vein. Right now I just need to get through this one. This time between variants is so important to all of us. But I that's what I want. I talk about it in my album. I talk about it, and in this new hour too. I was like, guys, come on, we're all in this. Like, we're in this room together. This is our group. The universe put us here. So let's like get along today. There's enough other stuff going on where people are like, here's why you shouldn't like that person you don't know. And sometimes that's very valid. But what if, like, for a while we were like, here's why you should like that person next to you, and maybe we can like find a window to do that, and then at the same time, I'm funny, hopefully. So
Yes, yeah, I'll say it on record. You're funny. In case you
thanks,
weren't
buddy.
aware.
Thanks, I did it. I had a lot of names I've been crossing off. Like, when Bob Odenkirk told me I was funny,
God
I was like,
it.
all right, I'm good. But I appreciate it. There's only a few thousand more names to go, but I can cross you off. I appreciate it.
We just close the laptops now, and that's it, man. So yeah, I think we do. Yeah. So, but something that I think is interesting is being an artist myself is the intersection of how do you maintain your artistic integrity, but also maintain some sort of business integrity, and like
Sure.
you do something different that you're making. Maybe you don't think it. Maybe you may not think it's a large difference, but you make an active difference in the world with just that energy. Because even for me personally, I feel changed, a little bit different after I listen to one of your podcasts or something. With just the energy that you put out. That is like such a. You don't see a lot of people have that be the third part of their trifecta. It's a lot. It's either the art or the commerce. They're focused on one thing, main that way.
Yeah.
So making a difference, as far as like, does that register in your brain when you're crafting your comedy or when you're thinking about your podcast or communicating with people?
I think I don't think it's that deliberate. We all have to like suffer some level of BS and stuff like that, but I really have a disdain for that. And I think that if you're in my own stand-up, if I'm talking about something I personally feel and it's personal to me and I personally went through it, I think that newsflash, comedy should be relatable. But like, I think that resonates through. And then I think in the podcast form, if I'm saying like, certainly in pen pals, where you see the most of this, like, hey, write us a letter about anything. And I'm willing to joke around about what constitutes a grilled cheese or not for 20 minutes. And then I'm also willing to like hear somebody say about like how it genuinely depressed them and they lost a lot of themselves when a like animal passed away that they loved. Those two things are operating to me like I don't even want to say two sides of the same coin. Sometimes they're on the same side of the coin. It's just because it's all about like, well, what's really happening here? Like what's in this moment and like, what are we talking about? And I always say, and Rory Scovel and I say this, both of us say this, is, inherently we are comics. So even when it's like the darkest thing, we're only 30 to 45 seconds from some joke about it because we can't help ourselves. And I think that allows me, and hopefully it allows other people to go like, be able to like take a step back from it, or like find a moment of like, oh, but that would be so funny if blank happened while we were grieving about our dad. Like if we got like the worst, like Bennigan's waitress of all time, like who I couldn't read the room that we had just left our dad's wake or something like that. There's comedy in that. And so I think it's just I think that we live in a world of like, and I do too. When I say we, I mean me. And we just live in this world of like, here's this great picture of me or this thing I'm doing, and it's very like facade. And I don't need to like preach to a choir we all already belong to. But I think to be able to like hear Rory and myself talk very like honestly and openly about and be vulnerable about things, I think that there's more of a space for that than like we need that more than maybe a lot of us realize, and it's very identifiable. And then to not just live in that like sad, as a person who listens to the show, it's not just like sad. It's not just like, oh, let's go be sad for an hour. It's more like, hey, let's be real with each other for an hour. And sometimes that realness can be about all the crazy things they sell at a Cracker Barrel. So it's just, as long as you're staying on that side of it, I think it comes through. And that, you know, that's also what I try to do on my stand-up is, you know, if I were to say to an audience, can I talk to you guys for a second? Like, I genuinely mean, like, I'm going to talk to you guys for a second about a thing. And that's not revolutionary either, but I think it's genuine. And so maybe the short answer to one that's already been very long is I try to be very genuine about, you know, about those things. And I don't want to like fake it, and I'll admit it if I'm having a hard time, but hopefully I'll do that in a pretty funny way too, you know? So it's I think it's, hopefully, if I had to almost third person talk about myself, it's about just trying to be genuine. So yeah,
well, it definitely comes across in your material and stuff, and especially, you know, Thanks Diane, your first comedy album, I think, that you released.
Yeah,
cool. And that went number one on the iTunes comedy charts the day it was released. Very cool.
Yeah.
Are you working on new material? Are we going to be seeing some new material or some Thanks Diane?
It's a whole new hour. So anybody who came out in 2019, it's a whole new hour of material. It's there was stuff right in March of 2020. I had probably put in maybe like 30-40% new stuff, and then I did that with a whole, you know, another 60-70% of new stuff, you know, in the pandemic. Like I did like one of those Zoom shows and didn't love it, and so I took stand up off until like, man, I think it was July 2021 before I did it again. And then I got a lot of good stuff that I did in that first run, and then I've even added in some more. So yeah, everything is all new. So if you go listen to Thanks Diane and it, you know, encourages you to get a ticket, you won't be hearing any of that stuff again. And if you heard it before and you're ready for something new, I've got that for you. So it's all new stuff about a boy from Rochelle.
The Boy from Rochelle coming to Albany, New York, April 5th, the Madison Theater. We're very excited to have you in town. Before I let you go, I just had to ask, last time you were in town, you seemed to get gifted a lot of pies. Is there a pastry of choice for this tour, or what's up?
It's always pie, man. The amount of pie that I love, people ask me like, what's your favorite pie? And it's like, I think if my mom had only made one pie, that would be probably my favorite one. But the fact that like she can expertly make like 10 different types of pies, it's like, well, what time of year is it? You know what I mean? So yes, I have not so subtly made it aware that I love pie in any scenario or time of day. And people will come to shows and bring them one. Now, if that encourages somebody to be like, you know what, not much of a comedy fan, and I don't care about this guy being genuine, but I do have a pie to give away, that is more than enough reason to get a ticket. So it's, you know, it's just something fun, and I love it. I remember I did a show last time I was out east. I did a show in Boston, and a fan brought a bourbon pecan pie, and I'm like, well, this is all we're doing for the next 5 minutes. So yeah, it's a definite thing. I will never stop wanting it, but also if they go, hey, no more pie, you just get great people coming out to your shows, I go, fair, I'll take that first. So
fair enough. So is Andrew Youngblood going to be your opener on this leg of the tour as well?
Yes. Yeah, Andrew will be with me. We're back on the road again. We get in on the 5th, and we'll be there, and then we'll be there that night, and then we go to is it Worcester, however you want to say it, then Boston, and then Philly for 2 nights, and then New York. So it's a nice little run of dates, and I can't wait to kick it off with you guys.
Awesome. So thank you so much for your time today, Dan. I really appreciate it, brother.
You too, man. Will I see you there at the show? You're gonna make it out?
Yes, 100%.
Okay, great, dude. I can't wait to see what pie you bring. I'm just joking. I just can't wait to see you there. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, man. Thank you very much. I'll talk to you soon, brother.